Hey guys, and welcome to RanchoLosFonseca. My name is Brene, and today we are going to be talking about how we started a ranch part 2. This video has been asked for a lot. I didn't know how to quite do this. How did we start a ranch? What do we need? How did I become a cowgirl? All of these questions. So first, the land. Like, where are you at? How did you get a land? Like, how did you get a ranch? I live in MUSCOY, California, with my grandma. This is her property. It's an acre, a little less than an acre. I grew up here my whole life. I've been here my whole life. And growing up, we have never been able to walk outside without shoes. We always have to have shoes because there's always thorns on the floor. There's weeds, there's thorns everywhere. So for the first about 3-4 months, we were just picking up weeds, getting all the thorns out, because every time you would walk back to the backyard, at the bottom of your chancla, your shoe, they would have thorns all over it. So we would have to take time to get all the thorns out before you come into the house, all of that. Like, just take your shoes off. But there was a lot. The property that we're working with the animals is probably 1/8 of the acre. So yeah, about 1/8 of the acre. So what do we need to start a ranch? Well, first, you need property, you need land, you need water, you need food, you need something to store the food in, just in case if it rains. You need sun, you need shade, and you need a wonderful grandma that has property so you could do it all on. Thank you, Grandma. Wow, I didn't know how emotional I was when talking about the ranch. I had to take a second, so sorry guys. So you have to have food, you have to have a place to store the food. So where we store the food is, my grandma actually has a trailer in the backyard, and she uses the trailer. That trailer is storage. So underneath, that's where we store all the food. We put all the hay, the barrels, so that nothing will get wet. We put a tarp over. So that's how we take care of the food. As far as the water, that was a challenge at first, because the animals are in the very, very far end of the property, and the closest water spigot was in the middle of the property. So for the longest time, we would get the water hose and drag it all the ways across the yard, trying to get the farthest corner to put water at, because that's where the animals would be, in the farthest corner, in a cage or a fence. Sorry, they're not in a cage. And we did that for the longest time. And then I was like, we can't do this. So we can't do this anymore. Like, taking the water hose, and that's a lot of work day by day, like 3 times a day, especially when you have pigs and they always just knock over the water. But we'll talk about the pigs later. Someone just came over right now, and they want to see their animals. So I had to go put on my boots. Hey, Mama. Well, I needed that break more than I thought I did. But in the video of the cow, I think the cow is my favorite right now. Her name is T-Bone, and when we first got her, she was just didn't want to be a part of nobody. Like, didn't want no one touching her, anything. But now she comes up to me, she licks me, she smells me, she's all friendly now. So T-Bone's my favorite right now. I don't have favorites, but right now at this moment, a little bit, she's kind of my favorite. So we're talking about the water. So instead of bringing the water all the way to the other side of the yard, we made spigots. So what I did, I asked my uncle if I can use his pick. Or actually, I just haven't returned it from the last time I used it. Sorry, I'll return it. But I used that pick to dig a trench. Dug a trench, made like an L and then a C. Yeah, I made a C, a big C. And I put two spigots in there. So now I can get to the one side of the yard and one side of the yard without having that hassle, which is a great help. Like, I'm really glad we did that. It was worth the trenching and all the rocks and all that hard work. Like, definitely worth it. The next thing we had to do was the fencing. So there was no fencing, there was no dividers to put the animals. It was just land, an open land, and a chicken coop. The chicken coop was just in his little lonesome area over there in the corner. And then we added on a duck coop. So we did the duck coop before we actually put the fencing in. We did the duck coop. First, we completed the duck coop. Well, it's not a duck coop, it's a chicken coop, but we put the ducks in it. Right now, the ducks in it, so now it's called a duck coop. But it was originally supposed to be a chicken coop, so we can put rooster, chicken, so we can mate them. But it didn't turn out that way. So now we have a duck coop. But, so we put that up, and then we did the fencing. So the fencing was another project of, this was the first project that we did with the pick. So we did an L and then a line. Yeah, so we did a lot of trenching, and we put the fence in. So we bought 8-foot fence. We buried it 2 feet, and then it's up 6 feet. We knew that the goats like to rub themselves on the gate, but we might have to redo the gates already. It's only been 5 months since we started. All right, so the next one, so the next final thing that you need to have a ranch are animals. So I mentioned that we had a chicken coop. We had chickens in there, but my grandma ended up giving them away to my oldest cousin, the oldest of the Fonsecas. She has 5 acres, so my grandma was like, here's some chickens. So then we had nothing. So we had to get animals. How were we going to get animals? So we didn't know where to look for animals for. Well, besides my uncle, but we didn't know where to start. Should we get sheep? Should we get a goat? Should we get a horse? Should we get what? We didn't know what to get first. So one day we were just in the front yard. We were picking up weeds, doing our thing like we were supposed to be doing, trying to get all the thorns out of the ground. And my dog Nacho, that was my first pet. My dog Nacho, he started barking at the street, and I looked and I didn't see nothing. And he kept barking, and I was just like, oh. And I was like, oh, babe. And I called my fiance over, and he's like, yep, I see it. And there was a van following, and I'm still trying to realize, am I seeing this correctly? But there was a van following, and the lady in the van was like, hey, is that your pig? So we saw a pig walking on the side of the road, and my fiance was like, yup, that's our pig. So I was like, hey, piggy, and the piggy came into the gate, into our yard, and that's how we got a pig. We were asking the neighbors, we were looking for signs, and there was no one that said lost pig, or if you found a pig, call this number. So we didn't know who to return it to. So we got a pig. That's how we got a pig. My fiance didn't know if the pig was dangerous or what. So we were trying to cover up her face so she wouldn't bite us. We didn't know if it was a boy or girl. We were trying to cover up the face so it wouldn't bite us. And so once we got it, we put it in the duck coop, and that was now her home. And that's how we got a pig. So our pig was our first animal. And that's why how you see in our picture, that's why it's a pig, because that's how we started. How did we start a ranch? A pig was our first animal, and we named her Bacon. So we had a pig in a duck coop, or in the chicken coop. And then we're like, okay, we need more animals. We want people to come see our piggy, but a pig is not very interesting to look at. So we're like, we need more animals. So I went up to my uncle's house, And I was like, hey, Theo, I need to buy, I want to buy animals. I want to start my ranch. He's like, okay, well, if you want to start your ranch, you need a pair. You need a boy and a girl. I'm like, okay, well then that's what I'm going to get. Give me a boy and a girl. And we decided on getting goats. So we got a boy and a girl, and we named them Papas and Chorizo. So that's how we got our goats. So we started off with 2 goats and a pig. And now we're like, these goats are really little. Like, they're smaller. They're only like 3 months. We want more action. We need more. So went back to my uncle's house, and I was like, hey, can I get a pregnant goat? Can I buy a pregnant goat? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, well, I want that white one. And he's like, you want that white one? I was like, yeah, I want that white one. He's like, okay. So he's like, you know what? These goats, they're all pregnant, and they're pregnant together, and you need to take, if you take one of them, I think you should take all of them. I'm like, all right. So now we have 5 goats, a pig, and then one day we were just sitting down watching TV, and we're like, we need to have baby pigs. And I was like, that's not a bad idea. So I don't know why I thought of OfferUp. I went on OfferUp and I typed in pig. And then I was like, oh my God, look, there's a piggy for $20 and it's a boy. He's like, what kind of pig is it? I was like, it's a potbelly pig. He's like, perfect. It's the same thing as bacon. I'm like, yes. So we messaged the guy. I'm like, hey, can we come pick up the pig? He's like, yeah. So in the picture of the pig, it's like a little cute little piggy, cute little piggy. Like he looks like he's 12 pounds, 15 pounds. Like, all right, cool. We're gonna have to wait a little bit until the pig grows up, until we have babies, but it's okay. We have a boy and a girl. We can get a boy and a girl, which is perfect. All right, yeah. So we go, and this is all the ways in Hesperia. No, Apple Valley. It's in Apple Valley, even further. And so we get there, and the guy opens the backyard. It's a really like little backyard, like maybe 3 garages. Not that little, but that's pretty little for a backyard compared to, I mean, if you have animals, it's a little for a backyard. So anyways, so we go, and in the ad, it says, if you catch him, you can keep him. We're like, all right, cool. So we get there, and the guy's like, all right, there's your pig. And I was like, that's the pig? He's like, yeah, that's the pig. I was like, it looks so much bigger than the picture. He's like, oh yeah, we didn't have an updated picture. I was like, oh, okay. Well, that works. That's perfect, because now the boy and the girl can have babies. So it was perfect. So here's some clips on that. In the clip, you see them tying her up, tying up the feet. And then we're throwing the pig into the back in the trunk. I mean, not in the trunk, in the back seat. And so how do I explain this story? So we're driving down, going back home. The pig is tied up like a hog in the back seat, and all of a sudden we hear squealing, and I'm like, cause I'm driving, so I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I freaked out, and so my fiance, he actually jumps in the back, and he's hugging the pig, so it won't get out like it. So he, from Apple Valley all the way to San Bernardino, MUSCOY, he was hugging the pig so it wouldn't get out. And this is me in the car, like trying not to freak out, like trying to put on a smile, but I'm really freaked out. Like it was a crazy ride home, but we got there, and we finally got there. We were able to get him out the car, put him in the pen, and then same thing with this animal. We didn't know if it was gonna bite us when he was in the back seat with holding him on. He didn't know if he was gonna bite him because he was just squealing everywhere. So he took off his shirt and put the shirt over his head so the pig wouldn't bite him. So that's why there's a shirt on the pig's head. So that's how we got Pork Chop. His name is Pork Chop. So now we have Bacon and Pork Chop, and we want Bacon and Pork Chop to have babies. So we have Bacon, Pork Chop, these 5 goats, 3 pregnant goats, the little baby goats, papa and chorizo. And that's what we have. And we're like, all right, so Mom, when you coming over? Dad, when you coming over? Brother, sister, uncle, like, hey, come look at our animals. But then, they get there and they're like, all right, cool. Animals is a very good therapy. Like, just to hold a little whatever animals you're holding it's good therapy. Very good therapy. So this is all in the pandemic. So we actually started this ranch in September 2020. Pandemic started March 2020. So September is now February 21. In September, like the end of September, they called us back to work. And they're like, hey, we're working again. So we go back to work, and we deal with customer service people all the time. And there was this one lady, and one lady there that we met, and she was like, what do you do for fun? It's like, oh, I go hang out with the horses. It's like, oh, what, you have horses? Like, yeah, I have a lot of horses, and we're actually trying to downgrade. We want to downgrade and get rid of some horses. I'm like, oh, we're like, oh, we're actually thinking we might need a horse. So me and my fiance talked about it, and we're like, yeah, let's go check out these horses. So one day, actually it was October 11th, we went over to their house and checked out some horses. And the guy was like, we get there and they gave us great, very good hospitality. Like, these guys were doctors. So this was a 7-acre lot. We get there, there's 20 horses running on this side. There's 20 more horses running on that side. So like they have like 70 horses. We pull up and we're like, oh my God, 70 horses. Like, this is amazing. Like, it was really a great experience. And they were all thoroughbred horses. They were all race horses. So we get there, they're doing great hospitality. They're telling us all about this horse that they won all these trophies on, and all of these races that he's won, and telling us all the good stuff. And then he's like, all right, well, let's get down to it. Like, we're here to talk horses. You guys want to buy a horse? I have 2 horses for sale. We're like, okay, we can do this. So he's like, I have a horse that's $15,000 and I have a horse that's $5,000. We're like, oh, what's the difference? Like, why is there such big jump? He's like, well, this horse has some issues. She was racing, and during her race, she ran into the side and hurt her knee, and she had to get surgery on her knee. And so it's not a racing horse anymore. So she's not a racing horse. So we go, he shows us the whole property, shows us all the horses. We feed the horses carrots. We actually feed a baby horse a carrot for his first time. So it was a great experience. It was all around great experience. So at the end, he showed us all the horses. He's like, so what do you guys think? We're like, oh, okay, well, this is all nice and everything, but $5,000 is kind of out of our budget. He's like, oh, so what did you expect? You expected to get a free horse or what? And I'm like, no, I don't mind paying for a horse. That's not the problem. He's like, okay, so what was your budget? And I was like, honestly, it's $500. He's like, 10 seconds later, I'll sell it to you for $500. Like, what's the catch? But we're like, all right. So we go back inside. He's like, okay, so what do you want to do? I was like, I want to go look at the horse one more time. So we go look at the horse. My fiance is all petting it, like, oh, he's so soft. And it's like giving it all this love, and it was just such a great experience. But outside of what was going on, there was so much more going on. My grandma was in the hospital. She was on her deathbed, and she actually died a week later after seeing this. So while seeing him pet the horse, like there was so much love involved. I thought of my grandma. I was like, dang, this would be a really good moment for my grandma, or at least like, hey grandma, I bought a horse, or hey grandma, come to my backyard, there would be a horse. So my grandma's favorite animal was a panda bear. So I in that moment I named her already, and I didn't even buy this horse yet, but I had named this horse. So I was like, I gotta get it. Like, I gotta get it. So we go back inside. We're like, okay, we'll get the horse. We'll get the horse. So he's like, okay, well, do you have a transportation? How are you gonna get the horse there? And I'm like, no, we don't have transportation. He's like, okay, no problem. We can deliver the horse for an additional fee. I'm like, how much is an additional fee? He's like, just $100 more. I'm like, okay, that's reasonable. I'm like, all right, but we legit know nothing about horses, but we had already been talking about that, so he knew our situation. And he just said, as long as you just ride her around the block, the area, just don't take her up mountains and stuff, and don't treat her wrong, like treat her good. He'll help us out a little bit more. So I was like, I need some hay. I need to feed the animal. Like, how am I gonna feed the animal? He's like, well, I buy my food by the ton, so I'll sell you a bale of hay for $10. I'm like, okay. I'll take 5. So it's $500 for the horse, $100 for delivery, $50 for hay. And then I'm like, I'm gonna need one of those bridles, so when you get there, I can walk her back into my property. He's like, okay, no problem. I'll sell it to you for $10. They're normally $40 and up, but I'll throw it in for $10. So now I'm at $660 for a horse. I'm like, okay. So we agreed to get the horse delivered next week, next Sunday. So that was a Saturday, the 11th, and then 8 days later, the 18th, or the 10th, sorry, and 8 days later, the 18th, which is actually my fiance's dad's birthday, and the day after my grandma had passed away, which is why I remember the date so well. But we got the horse. So we get the horse. We're bringing the horse on the property. We're like, oh my God, this is such an amazing moment. We take a picture. Psh, we got a horse. Yes. And that's how we got a horse. And that's how she got her name, Panda. Rest in peace, Grandma. I love you. So we get this horse, and the hay's going fast. They're like, yeah, feed the horse 2 bales of hay in the morning, 2 bales of hay at night. We're like, okay, yeah, no problem. That's simple. But the horse, like 2 weeks later, like all the food was gone. We're like, what do we do? So we look up food, we look up hay. Like, well, we already knew where to get hay from. We just didn't know how much the hay cost. So at the time, $10 was like, oh, okay, $10. But he bought it by the ton. He didn't buy it by the barrel. And now we buy it by the barrel. So a barrel, the cheapest I found is $12. That's the cheapest. Anywhere else I found is $12. And the most is like $15.50. So there's sometimes it's $13.75, $14.25, $14.50, $12, $13. But I didn't know at the time $10 was cheap. I didn't know that at the time. So there's so much learning involved. Like, the thing that I had to do first was wake up early. And me, I'm not a morning person. So this is all new. This is everything that we're doing, like building trenches and putting in gates and all of this is new to me. So it's like no land to a ranch. I'm really proud of me and my fiance and the people that have came and helped, the family members that have came and helped. Like, I'm really proud of us because we're going somewhere. Like, we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. And I just like sharing it with other people. I didn't know so many people were animal lovers, and how many people have never rode a horse before, or how many people have never seen a pig in person. So, whew, I don't know. I'm emotional. Like, getting to see people react to animals and living their dream. Like, this is riding a horse is, I just marked that off my bucket list. Like, I never knew this would be so wonderful. And sharing it with the people I love and the people that want to be involved, I'm thankful for them. But whew. Sorry guys, I'm a little crybaby. But the number one thing that everyone else asks is, how do you make money? Well, that was another challenging thing that we had to do. So we put the gates in, we do this, we do that. So we put the corrals in. Before we bought Panda, we bought corrals. So we bought, stalls so the horse can live in. So what we decided was, sorry, message popped up. So what we decided was, all of these stalls are not being used. We can rent out the stalls and make money. So what we have done so far, we're renting out the stalls. So far we've had a horse, another horse, goats, a bull, cows, and people are asking all the time, like, do you have available room? Does it have shade? Does it have sun? Like, how are you going to take care of my animal? We feed them, we give them water, all of that. Like, donations are always welcome as well. And then I make videos for people. Videos is one of my hobbies that I like doing. And every time someone comes over, I make them a video. Like, I like to share, like, their experience is, like, I'm giving them their experience. So whatever they donate, whether it's they bring food or bring water over, they help pick up the poop, any of that, like anything helps, like help me taking the wheelbarrow to the front yard, or giving the water animal, or cleaning out the bowl for us. Like, all of that is donation, all of that is love, and that's what we are here for. There's so much more to do. We have a lot of projects. There's always projects, whether it's picking weeds, or there's so many projects, fixing the gate, putting up the shade, making a shed, making sure the lids are closed. You gotta find tape, you gotta find barrels, there's so many things that are involved. Like, you would have never imagined, like, scooping up the food, like how much shoulder work that is. Like, it's an amazing experience, and I'm glad to share it with my family and now YouTube. And all I ask is subscribe, like, comment, and tell me what you want to see here. With that being said, I just wanted to add that my grandma Paula is the one that lives here with me in MUSCOY, and my grandma Miriam is who I named Panda after. There might be a little confusion on that. Also, my grandma Paula, the one that lives here, is the one that came up with the name RanchoLosFonseca, which is actually my last name. It's not her last name. Her last name is a different name. But she wanted this ranch to be for her grandkids, and she wanted her grandkids to come help out, be a part of this, and be a part of, this is her. So she wanted us to embrace something and be ourselves. So to the Fonsecas, cheers. I love you guys. please share and comment below. See you next time.